The topic I was given was resilience, right? And interestingly, one of my investors had nominated me to speak here, right? And I still call my company a startup. It's been 10 years, and we still call it a startup because it's in a very hyper growth phase, right? And if you see, this is a common stat, right? I'm sure many of your professors, entrepreneur classes would have told you 9 in 10 startups fail, right? And when I started Ekin Care, there were 2 startups I failed prior to that, right? One was because I was doing this startup as a second job while I had a primary job, so focus was missing. The second startup I failed primarily because there was a lack of product market fit, right? And that is where, if you see, there are multiple reasons for the companies to fail, right? I mean, some are within your radius of control, some are outside your radius of control. It could be a team, it could be cash, it could be capital, it could be product market fit, it could be like you're too early for the market, right? Multiple reasons, right? And if you look at this, I mean, interesting stat, 75% of the startups or companies fail within 15 years. So even going past 15 years, I mean, there are companies who even vanish after 15 years, right? So there is, as one of the speakers mentioned, there is only that 7 out of 25,000 companies who survive, right? So it takes a lot of resilience, right? I mean, startups today, it's very glorified, right? Where you see a lot of positive news, right? Somebody's become a unicorn, somebody got a great exit, right? That's the news that you see. But what you don't see behind that entire success is it's never a straight line, right? And there's always circle. That's how you grow, right? And today I wanted to share a little bit of my path or my journey of resilience in terms of how we grew from, I mean, back in 2015 when I started, the first question I got was, I'm not from a healthcare background. I come from a telecom background, worked in the US and then moved to India, started this as a personal pain point where I couldn't track my father's health. So I wanted to build a platform for my own, right, where I wanted to track my father's health, and that coincidentally became a platform for a lot of close to 1.5 million employees that use this platform today. And the first question that I was asked is, you're not from healthcare, how can you build this, right? And interestingly, the answer when I searched, I got was, you have a different perspective when you're not from the healthcare background. So along the way, a lot of questions, right? Self-doubt, even to the extent of back in 2015 when I started this, people were saying, India mein who cares about employee health? Kaun kharch karta hai? Right? Nobody really takes care of their employees in India, right? It's like a machine, right? It's like a workshop where you have to work, and the only thing that was given was ESI, which is your labor insurance, or very few companies were providing insurance, right? And but we believed in 2015, we were one of the very first companies to start focusing on employee health, because we've seen this in US, we've seen this in other countries, and we believed if India has to grow, right, human capital is extremely important. There will come a time where companies will start investing in employee health more than what they do. And as part of the last 10 years journey, there were several death experiences, right? What is a death experience in a startup? A death experience in a startup is where you literally see zero, right? You are at a stage where you literally, you can't even think of the next day, right? You could get to that because there is cash flow. You could get to that for multiple reasons. The first death experience I had, and I've been lucky as part of my journey. Luck also played a big part because I got funded even before I started a company. So I had a seed funding just based on a PowerPoint presentation that gave me, I would say, it was bad for my growth, because now I was overconfident. Because if I could raise funding just based on a PPT, right, then I was like, I think the idea is great, and that's how we started spending the entire money in the first 2 years. And after 2 years, we realized, what we were building is not relevant. We were building for a different audience who was not willing to spend, right? And what we realized is our go-to-market strategy when we were out there trying to sell to customers or trying to generate revenue, there was not a product market fit. Literally, I remember back in the day where I didn't have money for the payroll, right? So next day we were supposed to hit a payroll, and I had no idea. I literally, I had no money in the bank, right? And as a last resort, like you say, one of the crazy things about entrepreneurs is they don't give up, right? As a last resort, I had to call one of the customer who was supposed to sign up 3 months later to say, you know what, can you sign up now? I'll give you a discount, and I need the money today to be transferred. And it was a decent discount that he was giving. He said, let me think about it. Now there's nothing else I could do, right? I tried my last resort. There's nothing I could do. So what I did was I just went home, and to take my mind off it, I took my wife and for a movie, and while I was sitting in the theater, I got a call from the customer. I just ran out of the theater, and he said, in the next 1 hour, there'll be money in your bank. Congratulations, we are starting off. Right? So that was the first death experience where I realized, okay, you can't give up, right? And after that, the second death experience that we seen as a company was when we saw that second death experience. The first death experience felt like this is really small, right? With every death experience, you realize that you are actually growing and you're being more resilient. The second one was very interesting, right? Again, growing really fast. We've raised our multiple rounds, and we were at a Series A kind of a round, right, where it was a first institutional funding. And we had a term sheet in hand from investors. What I realized is we were supposed to again hit payroll, and I realized there was no money in the bank, and there was supposed to be money in the bank. What I realized then, I was like really shocked. I asked my finance person, what's wrong? We were supposed to have enough money for almost 6 months of runway, and employees are complaining that there's no money in the bank. And he gave me some kind of a goalie. Then I went back to work, and then within 2 days, again, one of the employees came to me and said, hey, Kiran, I still haven't received my salary. Then that's when I said there could be something wrong with the bank. Went to the bank, talked to the bank manager, and the bank manager said, no, there's no money in the bank. You just have 2,000 rupees in the bank. And I'm like, I was really shocked. And I asked the finance person, how's this possible? Then I realized this person was siphoning money off the accounts. And literally I remember this I was standing on the road in Madhapur, right opposite to the police station. There's a branch there. I realized, shit, I have 2,000 rupees. I have so many employees to pay. And do I take care of this? Do I take care of the company? And I have a term sheet. How do I go back to the investors and say, sorry, I screwed up? Because I mean, that was literally death. I mean, Series A, forget Series A. How do I go back to the company and explain to the employees? That is when you need to have a great team, right? Again, I was lucky to have an excellent team with me, my co-founders and my core team. I just went back to the office and I said, guys, we are screwed. And I remember one of my co-founder, he was about to leave for a vacation at the airport. He said, I'm coming down. I'm cancelling my vacation, I'm coming down, and let's fix this. In any crisis, right, what we've learned over the years through multiple crises is, first, acknowledge that there is a crisis. Second, assess the damage. Third, stabilize. Fourth, adapt. Fifth, regrow. So literally, we had multi-crores receivables in the market that we were supposed to receive. I literally put the entire company, we used to joke around, we became Vasuli Bhais back. We literally went around, I sent people to fly wherever with their personal money to go sit in front of the customer, collect as much as possible in the next 1 week and put money back into the bank so that we could make the payment. And while this was happening, what I realized is, again, the person didn't pay any of the compliance money. So I had a warrant from PF, I had a warrant from ESI. It was literally, I mean, every day we were firefighting. Every day, every hour, every 10 minutes, it's like money in, money out, money in, money out, right? What it really did was, one, we were able to communicate. We were able to the entire company. We said, I mean, when you open all your cards and when you say, guys, we are screwed, right? I need help. Everybody pitched in. And that's when, during this time of crisis, is when you actually see who are the people who are going to stay longer through the company and who are the people who are going to say, boss, this is not for me. There were employees who left, right, saying, I don't think this is going to happen, I'm leaving, right? But the ones who stayed, they're with me even now, right? The 8 years, 10 years into it, they're still continuing to grow with me, right? Now the other part of it is like, now we've assessed, we need to stabilize. Now I need to go back and tell to my investors saying, guys, sorry, we have a term sheet, but there's a mismanagement that happened, and just go say sorry. So I remember going to Bangalore to speak to the investor, and interestingly, we met at a coffee shop, and he saw my face, and we were chatting up, and I said, Dinesh, this is what happened, and you are free to take back your term sheet, but I mean, we are here to fix it. Then Dinesh laughed and said, hey, Kiran, I thought, looking at your face, I thought you were here to tell me I'm not taking your term sheet, and I was more worried than you are. He said, it's okay, I'm not investing in the company for what it's worth, I'm investing in the team. As long as you guys are there, I don't mind it. This is just a small speed bump, let's fix it. And those investors actually helped get the entire due diligence faster, get the money in the bank faster, so that we could actually stop doing vasulis and start focusing on the growth, right? And that was another lesson, right? Wherein literally from 2,000 rupees in the bank to now, I mean multi-crores from a revenue perspective, right? So that's what, I mean, today when you talk to my investors, they say we are extremely a resilient company, because then came COVID, right? I mean, during COVID, one of our biggest, I would say, businesses, right, is to be able to do diagnostics across thousands of employees across the country. And When COVID happened, nobody was getting out, and there's no more diagnostics or anything that's happening. So literally the revenue went back to zero. So we again had to reinvent ourselves. We said, okay, what if the diagnostics have gone down? Where are the employers focusing on? Employers wanted COVID vaccinations for their employees. COVID vaccinations when it was still in formulation phase. We had reached to everybody across the country, beyond the country, saying, hey, if you have the vaccination, I'm ready to put advances. We need our first set of vaccinations. In fact, we paid advances to multiple institutions to say we will take 500,000 vaccinations, we'll take 1 million vaccinations. And then what we realized is the government said, no, you can't give vaccinations directly to a third party, only to hospitals. Suddenly again we have to repurpose ourselves, and then we went back to our partners and said, hey, by the way, if you're buying those vaccinations, can you also buy extra for us? We will pay you advances. And that's how we survived through the COVID phase for 2 years. In fact, I remember working overdrive during COVID because we used to work in the morning talking to the CEOs of Indian companies, European companies, US companies back to back saying, sabko chahiye vaccination, abhi chahiye. Everybody is like, I'll give you more, but I need the vaccination now, right? So from there, where we said the revenue was going to be zero, we actually doubled our revenues during that phase, right? And that kind of gave us a kind of a DNA, right? I'm sure you guys have heard of unicorns. Anybody heard of a cockroach? So we are very fond of calling ourselves a cockroach startup, right? A cockroach survives 350 million years, right? As a species, it was pre-dinosaur. It survived 350 million years, right? And that is the beauty of a cockroach startup, right? It is like, even today, I mean, it could be anything. We've built that DNA to A, acknowledge, B, assess, C, stabilize, D, understand and regrow, adapt and regrow, right? And now every death experience I see is like, I now say like, yeah, this is jujube, this is small, we'll fix it, right? And that's how we've been growing and we continue to grow. I hope this gives you a sense as like all the glamour. If you talk to any startup founder, right, or any VC, they will say a startup is not a great startup until they've seen a death experience. Because death experience is what actually builds the resilience within the company, and that resilience is what everybody looks for when you're building a business. And that's how, and we are very proud to be able to go through multiple death experiences and springing forward, and we've been doubling our revenues for 5th year now. Thank you.